What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about something that Canada is doing that we really don't hear about here in the United States. So it says here that Canada is exploring some kind of huge new infrastructure vision at a strategic Arctic gateway that could unlock unprecedented economic opportunities. Wow, that's a mouthful. And it sounds pretty important. So today, I want to take some time and actually learn about what exactly Canada is doing up in the Arctic. So let's take a look.
Canada may be quietly working on something that could change its future in a very big way. Leaders are looking at an opportunity that could unlock new growth, new investment, and new possibilities across the country.
Okay.
But the full plan is far bigger than most people think. The Prairies Economic Development Canada announced the launch of a market-sounding study to gather industry input on the long-term growth potential of a project called Port of Churchill Plus.
Port of Churchill Plus. Never heard of it, but I gotta say, this is not the first thing that I've seen, like, online, especially on, like, social media and stuff, or YouTube, that has popped up, where it sounds like Canada is, like, doing a lot of stuff. Like, you guys are just doing stuff. That sounds good for the future of Canada. And I can't help but, like, compare it all to the United States, you know, where I am. And it's like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? What do we have to look forward to? What are we developing or investing in? Or what's our Port of Churchill Plus like, what's our version of that? Like, anyway, I can't help but like make that comparison because this actually sounds like interesting and exciting.
The study is engaging senior executives across mining, energy, potash, grain, and northern resupply sectors to assess how a transformed Churchill could influence their supply chain decisions, import and export strategies, and private sector investment planning over the coming decades. The federal government is investing up to $248,600 in the study.
What is the Port of Churchill? Does anybody know what that is? What are we even talking about here? Something with the Arctic, which is also something that, like, especially Americans, we never think about how Canada has so much of that Arctic, like, territory and what you're doing with it. So, yeah, I'm not exactly sure what we're specifically talking about here yet, except it's kind of, like, vague, and, like, Canada and the premiers are, you know, doing a study and considering all these different aspects of the economy. And it's like, what are you actually doing?
Expected to be completed in 2026. What it is studying is considerably larger than its price tag suggests. The Port of Churchill is Canada's only deep-water Arctic port connected to the North American Class 1 rail network via the Hudson Bay Railway.
Oh, okay. So I'm not exactly sure what they're studying, or maybe they're studying, like, if this project can even be done, or if it would accomplish something, or it's like the before you jump into something and actually start building things or changing things or investing huge amounts of money, you like have to do a study to like understand if it's worth it. So this is the Port of Churchill. It must have something to do with the Arctic, but this is way more south than I thought, even though I think as an American, my geography is like thrown off because this is pretty darn north, isn't it? It is, isn't it? If we're getting like to the Hudson Bay there and like almost to, what's it called? Nunavut, right? Yeah. So this is pretty far north, but is this technically the Arctic regions?
Deepwater Arctic port connected to the North American Class 1 rail network via the Hudson Bay Railway. It is
Okay.
also the only tidewater access on the prairies and provides the shortest route from the prairie provinces to European markets. That geographic fact has been known for decades. What has changed
Oh, because like the way that where's that map? The Hudson Bay. It's this body of water that leads out to the ocean. It leads to Europe. I never even thought about how important that would be. This is a port, like a shipping, trading port, where a lot of European trade is easiest if you want to get this far west into Canada, like by coming in the Hudson Bay. I never thought about that. Okay.
to European markets. That geographic fact has been known for decades. What has changed is the combination of geopolitical urgency, federal investment commitment, indigenous ownership capacity, and international partnership that is now turning
I'm sorry. There's a little fly or a gnat flying around my head. If you go back like 10 seconds, you'll see this thing. Not to get violent here, but if you care about the life of a little insect, you might want to look away. All right, I think it's okay.
that geographic advantage from a planning document observation into an active infrastructure program. The Port of Churchill Plus project was identified by the Federal Major Projects Office on its transformative strategies list in September 2025.
Okay.
It has 4 documented elements: upgrading the Hudson Bay Railway to Class 1 standards,
Okay.
dedicated marine ice-breaking capacity to extend the shipping season,
Okay.
an all-weather road connection to Churchill, and
Is Churchill different than the port of Church? Probably not. So is that like the city that the port is located in? Roads leading there to what? Make trade from the port, dispersing it into Canada better. Ice breaking for shipping lanes, upgrading the Hudson Bay Railway. Does this railway also go throughout Canada, I'm guessing? A lot of like upgrades to the infrastructure, stuff that's not very easy to do, not very quick. I can see why they have to like study this and like, because this is a huge undertaking if it happens.
to extend the shipping season, an all-weather road connection to Churchill, and a new energy corridor. Each of those 4 elements addresses a specific operational barrier that has historically prevented Churchill from functioning as a year-round commercial gateway.
I see.
The Government of Canada and the Government of Manitoba are jointly funding the Arctic Research Foundation to lead a feasibility study exploring the deployment of specialized icebreakers, ice tugs, and research vessels to support operations at the Port of Churchill year-round.
That's okay, now I understand this Port of Churchill thing. It's a huge shipping port that I didn't have any idea about in Canada that they're considering. Canada is thinking about making this way more efficient, which is honestly, what a perfect example of like, I was saying this earlier, like, what's the last time we did that here in the United States? That we made anything more efficient? If anything, I think there's more legislation and bureaucracy and permits like every year that make stuff slower and worse. And I don't even know what our taxpayer dollars are doing, but we're certainly not doing stuff like this. This sounds great.
Arctic Gateway Group is partnering with FedNav to examine the operational requirements necessary to position the port for future all-season operations.
Wow.
The Hudson Bay Railway currently connects Churchill to the Pass, Manitoba, and through CN Rail's network to the continental North American freight system.
Okay.
Upgrading that line to Class 1 standards means increasing track weight capacity, reducing operational restrictions, and enabling the heavier, faster trains that modern bulk commodity export requires.
Okay, so, I mean, let's be honest. This isn't like. It's very important. It's not like the most sexy sounding thing ever. It's kind of something that you wouldn't normally even think about if you're not like in this business, I would even think. But as a Canadian, I would certainly be like, if I was Canadian and I was hearing about this, I'd certainly be like, great, that's got like cool. That's why we trust our representatives and government to take care of big infrastructure plays like this. And they're even doing their due diligence to try to, ascertain if this is even worth it, which is exactly how you would hope they would handle your taxpayer money. So Yeah, I really like what I'm seeing from Canada here. Like, I'm a bit jealous.
The all-weather road is perhaps the most significant individual element of the four. Churchill currently
Okay.
has no road connection to the provincial highway network. Every person,
Okay.
every piece of equipment, every supply that arrives in Churchill comes by rail or by air. A
Sure.
road connection does not just improve access, it fundamentally changes the cost structure of construction, maintenance, and operations across the entire northern corridor.
Yeah, that sounds hard. But a lot of stuff is like freight on, like a lot of stuff is transported by trucks, right? Semi, tractor, trailer, trucks, huge freight, things that use normal road, you know? So the idea that that's not even a thing right now from this port is kind of surprising. I guess that would make a huge difference, like what they're saying.
The icebreaking feasibility study is the element that converts Port of Churchill Plus from a seasonal upgrade into what observers have called an Arctic ice bridge. Hudson
Arctic Ice Bridge. This is the icebreaker ship, very Canadian stuff, where you got the boats that like break ice so trade ships can keep going even when it's really cold and impassable at certain times of year. All right, and they gave it a good name, a dramatic name, Arctic Ice Bridge.
Ice Bridge. Hudson Bay freezes in winter, typically from December through June, and the current port operates for approximately 4 months per year.
Oh, the entire Hudson Bay freezes. Oh, wow. Oh my God. Oh, yeah. So it's totally unusable for ships. Completely unusable, right? Oh, so this would be huge.
When ice conditions permit commercial navigation. Extending that to year-round requires dedicated ice-breaking assets capable of maintaining a navigable channel through Hudson Bay's freeze season. The
Oh,
Arctic
wow.
Research Foundation feasibility study is examining what combination of specialized icebreakers, ice tugs, and research vessels could achieve that, and at what cost.
Now I understand what's going on here with this ice bridge, the Hudson Bay, the Churchill port. Now I'm starting. A big part of this is just this port is extremely inefficient, actually, even though it seems very, very substantial for Canada and Europe. And I know that trade relationship is getting a lot stronger. So this is becoming more and more important, and you guys are doing something about it. So this makes so much sense now. And the fact that this port in this Hudson Bay is only usable 4 months a year. If it goes from that to year round, this could be huge for Canada, right?
The energy corridor is the fourth element and the most commercially significant for long-term trade volumes. Manitoba Premier Wab Kinyu has publicly discussed a target of making Churchill an LNG export hub by 2030.
Okay.
The Narwhal has reported on pipeline plans circulating in development circles that would connect Western Canadian energy production to Churchill's marine terminal.
Okay.
An energy corridor through Churchill would give Alberta and Saskatchewan producers a direct northern export route to European LNG buyers.
That's right. This is so huge. Building like pipelines and stuff from Western Canada to this port of Churchill, which again, the whole purpose is to get oil and like energy to Europe and open up that market, which is something I've heard a little bit about how Canada wants to move away from selling all the crude oil to the United States. Like, you don't want to have to rely on us as such a big trading partner. And this is literally proof of that. If you're investing in this kind of infrastructure just to make it easier to do trade with Europe, this is total proof that that is happening, and that the relationship between the U.S. and Canada is declining. I mean, yeah, I hate to say it.
Who have been actively restructuring supply relationships since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and who are now constrained by the Strait of Hormuz closure from Middle Eastern alternatives.
Don't even say that name. Don't. If I have to hear one more thing about the utter disaster of the United States and the Strait of Hormuz, if I have to look at our gas prices one more time because of this, yeah.
Port of Churchill Plus is a vision for a stronger North and will be transformative for the economics of shipping through Hudson Bay, said Chris Avery, president and CEO of Arctic Gateway Group.
Yeah, I mean, you don't even have to be a CEO or a genius or any kind of expert to understand this is huge. It'd be cool to get like some more specifics, like the data on like how much trade is currently happening at the Port of Churchill in Canada. How big of a role does that play in the economy of Canada? And so you could like kind of extrapolate on how substantial this new infrastructure project could be. If this happens, like how big could this be?
Churchill is Canada's only deep-water Arctic port connected to the continental rail network. It is the shortest maritime route from the Canadian prairies to European markets.
Yeah, this map shows what I was talking about with like how it goes straight to the Atlantic Ocean. That's so I never realized how incredibly important that would be for Canada.
It is Indigenous owned. It is supported by federal and provincial governments simultaneously. And it now has a partnership with one of the world's largest ports. The ice bridge is being studied. The icebreakers are being specified.
Oh my God.
The road is being planned. The energy corridor is being mapped.
That'll get you hyped up. Oh my God. I'm not even Canadian, and that got me kind of pumped. This is, it's kind of confusing at first. I think especially for an American who has never heard of these places in Canada, or I didn't understand the Hudson Bay thing. Now it makes so much sense, and this sounds so exciting for Canada. This is huge. Like, there's a lot of things going real good, it seems, for the future of Canada. So, good for you guys. I couldn't tell you what's going on here or what we're looking forward to. I think we're looking forward to 2.5 years going by and like having a new president. Maybe that's the first step. Anyway, like I said, can't help but compare all the cool stuff happening in Canada to the nonsense, frankly, happening here. So this is interesting. I didn't know anything. This is stuff we do not hear at all about in the US. Probably because we're like sort of embarrassed. But anyway, if you enjoyed this, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment, especially if you're Canadian and you know about any of this or have thoughts about any of this, or if you're excited for this, or that'd be cool to hear about. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Canadian things that I've never seen before, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.